Shalom. I'm Rabbi Joseph Oliver, and what I'm about to share with you might challenge everything you've been taught about prayer and prosperity. For nearly 4,000 years, my ancestors preserved a secret about one specific psalm that most people recite completely wrong. And that's exactly why they remain trapped in financial struggle generation after generation. King David didn't write Psalm 23 as a begging prayer. He wrote it as a spiritual technology for accessing infinite abundance. Today, I'm going to show you the correct way to use this ancient wisdom to clear your financial blockages starting right now. Let me destroy a dangerous lie that's keeping millions of people broke. Most people think prayers work like cosmic vending machines. You insert your request, you press the button, you wait for God to dispense a miracle into your bank account. This is complete nonsense, and it's the exact reason why good people stay trapped in financial bondage for their entire lives, passing that same poverty consciousness to their children and grandchildren. I see this pattern constantly in my work. People come to me desperate, drowning in debt, working 2 or 3 jobs just to survive. They tell me they pray faithfully every single day. They recite Psalm 23. They beg God for help with tears streaming down their faces, and nothing changes. In fact, their situation often deteriorates. Why? Because they're treating the creator of the universe like a celestial ATM machine, and that fundamental misunderstanding blocks the very abundance they're seeking. Here's what most people don't understand about Jewish families and generational wealth. This isn't about genetics or conspiracy theories. The statistics tell an undeniable story. Jewish people represent approximately 0.2% of the global population, yet we account for nearly 20% of the world's billionaires. The median net worth in Jewish households is significantly higher than the national average across virtually every country where we've settled. This isn't luck. This isn't magic. This is consciousness. This is the application of spiritual principles that have been tested and refined over millennia. In the Talmud, our ancient rabbis taught something that most people completely misinterpret. They said that heaven helps those who help themselves. People think this is just motivational advice about hard work. No, this is spiritual law. This is how the universe actually operates on a fundamental level. Let me be absolutely clear with you right now. Prayers are not begging tools. Prayers are consciousness-shifting technologies. When you approach prayer from a place of desperation, fear, and lack, you're not connecting with divine abundance. You're actually reinforcing your poverty consciousness. You're literally vibrating at a frequency that repels wealth and opportunity. Every single day you stay in begging consciousness, you're not just failing to attract money, you're actively pushing it away from you. Your words have creative power. The Torah teaches this from the very first chapter of Genesis. God spoke, and reality came into existence. You are made in God's image, which means your words also shape your reality. When you beg, you declare to the universe, I don't have, I am in lack. When you declare from a place of alignment, you claim, I already am connected to infinite abundance. This is the difference between poverty and prosperity. This is the difference between struggle and flow. I know some of you listening right now are thinking, Rabbi, I've been praying my whole life. Are you seriously saying I've been doing it wrong? Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying, and I'm about to show you the right way, the way that actually works, the way King David himself understood when he wrote these powerful words 3,000 years ago. Let me introduce you to one of the most powerful financial tools ever created, hidden in plain sight for centuries. Psalm 23. Adonai roi lo exar. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. You've heard these words at funerals. You've heard them in churches and synagogues. You think you know what they mean. You don't. This psalm is one of the most misunderstood pieces of spiritual technology in human history. When used correctly, it has the power to completely transform your financial reality within weeks or months. When used incorrectly, the way 90% of people use it, it does absolutely nothing, or worse, it reinforces the exact consciousness that's keeping you financially stuck. Most people recite Psalm 23 when they're desperate, when they're terrified, when they're drowning in bills and don't know how they're going to make next month's rent. They close their eyes, their voice shaking with fear, and they beg, The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Please God, please help me not want. Please give me what I need. Please make this pain stop. This is completely backward. This is the opposite of what King David intended. Let me break down the first line for you. In Hebrew, it's Adonai roi lo exar. In English, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Now, here's what you absolutely need to understand. This is not a request. This is not you asking God to make it so you won't want things anymore. This is a declaration of present reality. This is you aligning your consciousness with a truth that already exists in the spiritual realm. When you say, "I shall not want," you're not begging God to give you things so you'll stop wanting them. You're declaring that in God's infinite supply, in the consciousness of Ein Sof, the infinite, lack does not exist for you. This is alignment, not asking. This is tuning your consciousness to a frequency where abundance already is, already flows, already exists. Think about it logically for a moment. A shepherd doesn't sit there while the sheep beg for grass, does he? The shepherd leads the sheep to green pastures. The provision is already there, growing, abundant, waiting. The sheep just need to follow the shepherd to where the abundance exists. You're not begging for grass. You're declaring that your shepherd has already led you to it. The food is there. You just need to eat. In Jewish mysticism, in Kabbalah, we understand that God is Ein Sof, without end, infinite, limitless. In the consciousness of infinity, there is no lack. There is no scarcity. There is no not enough. There is only abundance flowing continuously like a river that never runs dry. When you recite Psalm 23 correctly, you're not asking to be connected to that infinite source. You're declaring that you already are connected. You're remembering what you forgot. You're awakening to a truth that's been there all along. This is the critical difference between begging consciousness and abundance consciousness. Begging says, "I don't have. I am in lack. Please give me." Abundance says, "I am connected to infinite supply. Therefore I shall not want." The flow is constant. I am part of that flow. I know what you're thinking right now. Rabbi, this sounds like positive thinking nonsense. This sounds like you're telling me to pretend I have money when I don't, to lie to myself about my bank account. I hear you. That's a completely valid concern. Let me address it directly. This is not about lying to yourself. This is not about ignoring your bills or pretending your problems don't exist. This is about accessing a frequency, a state of consciousness where lack cannot exist. Let me explain it differently, in a way that might make more sense. Your current financial reality is a direct reflection of your consciousness. If you're vibrating at lack frequency, operating from fear, desperation, and scarcity every single day, you will continue to create lack in your physical reality. The universe mirrors back to you exactly what you're broadcasting. If you shift to abundance frequency, operating from trust, declaration, and alignment, you begin to access abundance in your physical reality. The outer world changes because the inner world changed first. Psalm 23 is the tool for this shift, but only if you use it correctly. Let me tell you about a man named Michael who came to see me 2 years ago. Michael was drowning. He had $73,000 in credit card debt. He was 4 months behind on his mortgage. His small landscaping business was failing. His marriage was crumbling under the constant financial pressure. He sat in my office, looked me in the eye with exhausted desperation, and said, "Rabbi, I don't know what else to do. I've tried everything I can think of." I asked him, "What have you tried?" He told me he'd been working 80-hour weeks. He'd cut every possible expense from his budget. He'd applied for loan after loan, getting rejected each time, and he'd been praying. Every single morning for 8 months, he recited Psalm 23 faithfully. I stopped him right there. "Show me how you pray," I said. Michael closed his eyes. Immediately his shoulders tensed. His hands clenched together like he was begging for his life. His voice started shaking and he said, "The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. Please, God. Please, I shall not want. Please help me not want. Please give me what I need. Please make this debt go away. Please save my business. Please fix my marriage. Please, please, please." I held up my hand. "Stop. Stop right there." Michael opened his eyes, confused and a little defensive. "What? What did I do wrong?" I was sincere. "Everything," I told him gently. "Your consciousness is completely wrong. You're using one of the most powerful spiritual technologies ever created, and you're using it like a beggar rattling a tin cup on a street corner. You're broadcasting lack with every word." I explained to Michael that every single word he just spoke was reinforcing lack consciousness in his mind and spirit. His voice was shaking with fear. His words were dripping with desperation. His body language screamed defeat. His entire being was broadcasting to the universe, "I'm in lack, I'm in lack, I'm in lack." And the universe, which is perfectly designed to mirror consciousness, was giving him exactly what he was asking for: more lack, more struggle, more closed doors. The prayer wasn't working because he was treating it like a magic spell. He thought if he said the right words enough times, if he begged hard enough, if he showed God how desperate he was, then maybe, just maybe, God would take pity on him and make his problems disappear. That's not how this works. That's not how any of this works, according to the ancient wisdom of our tradition. Michael, I said, God doesn't respond to begging. God responds to alignment. You're not connecting with infinite abundance right now. You're connecting with infinite lack, and the universe is perfectly designed to give you more of what you focus on. He looked at me like I'd just spoken a foreign language. He didn't understand. Not yet. His whole life, he'd been taught that prayer means begging, that humility means declaring your unworthiness, that spirituality means groveling before God and hoping for mercy. I told him, I'm going to teach you the correct way to use Psalm 23, the way that will actually shift your consciousness, the way that transformed my grandfather from a penniless immigrant arriving at Ellis Island with nothing to a self-made millionaire within 20 years, the way that's built Jewish wealth for 3,000 years. But you need to be willing to completely change how you think about prayer, about money, about abundance, about God. Michael was desperate enough to listen. And what happened over the next 90 days would completely transform his financial reality. Not through magic, not through a lottery win, through consciousness shift leading to different actions, different decisions, different energy, different results. Let me give you the exact framework for using Psalm 23 to clear financial blockages. This is not theory. This is not philosophy. This is the actual method that's been proven for thousands of years in Jewish communities around the world. I want you to pay very close attention because this will completely change how you understand prayer and prosperity. Step 1 is prepare your consciousness. You cannot come to this prayer from desperation. I don't care how broke you are. I don't care how many bills are overdue. I don't care how scared you feel right now. If you approach Psalm 23 from lack consciousness, it will not work. Period. The frequency is wrong. Before you recite one word of this psalm, you must shift your frequency from lack to gratitude. How do you do this? You find even one thing, just one thing, to be genuinely grateful for. Maybe it's that you woke up this morning. Maybe it's that you have running water. Maybe it's that someone loves you. Maybe it's just that you're breathing. Maybe it's that you're listening to this teaching right now, which means you're seeking answers. Start there. Feel that gratitude in your body. Not fake gratitude. Not forced gratitude where you're pretending. Real appreciation for something that is already good in your life right now. This shifts your frequency from lack to abundance. Even if it's just a crack in the door, even if it's tiny, you're opening yourself to a higher consciousness. Step 2 is declare. Don't beg. Now you're ready for the psalm. And here's the critical part that most people miss completely. Every single word must be spoken as a present reality declaration. Not a hope, not a wish, not a plea. A declaration of what already is in the spiritual realm. Adonai Roy, the Lord is my shepherd. Not I hope the Lord will be my shepherd. Not please God be my shepherd. The Lord is. Present tense. Right now. This moment. Lo exar. I shall not want. Not I hope I won't want. Not please make it so I don't want. I shall not want. This is already true. In the infinite abundance of God, lack does not exist for you. You're not asking for this to become true. You're declaring that it already is true in the highest reality, and you're aligning your consciousness with that truth. This feels uncomfortable at first, especially if you're broke. Your logical mind will scream at you, but this isn't true. I do want. I do lack. My bank account is overdrawn. That's your poverty consciousness talking. That's the old programming running. You're learning to speak from a higher consciousness, the consciousness of infinite abundance where lack is impossible. Step 3 is visualize the vessel. This is where Kabbalah becomes intensely practical. In Jewish mysticism, we teach that gratitude creates a vessel for receiving. When you feel grateful, you're creating space, a container that can hold more abundance. A closed fist can receive nothing. An open hand can receive everything. As you declare, I shall not want, visualize yourself as a vessel. Not an empty, desperate vessel begging to be filled, but a vessel positioned directly under a waterfall of infinite abundance. The water is already flowing. It never stops flowing. It's been flowing since before you were born. You're not begging for the water to flow. You're simply positioning yourself to receive what's already pouring down. See it in your mind with clarity. Feel it in your body like it's real. You are connected to Ein Sof, the infinite source. That source never runs dry. It never runs out. It never stops. It flows continuously like a river, and you are already connected to it. You've always been connected to it. The psalm is just helping you remember this truth that you forgot. Step 4 is move with action. Here's what most people miss, and it's absolutely critical to the entire process. After you pray, you must take one action step toward your financial goal. Just one. It doesn't have to be big. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it has to be something. The prayer shifts your consciousness. The action demonstrates faith. And this combination, consciousness plus action, is what creates what people call miracles. Let me tell you a story from the Torah that explains this principle perfectly. When the Israelites were trapped at the Red Sea with the Egyptian army charging toward them from behind, Moses prayed to God. He cried out for help. And you know what God said to him? "Why are you crying out to me? Tell the Israelites to move forward." The sea didn't split because Moses prayed. The sea split when a man named Nachshon ben Aminadav walked into the water. The Talmud teaches that Nachshon walked forward in faith until the water reached his nostrils, and only then did God split the sea. Prayer plus action. Consciousness plus faith demonstrated through movement. This is the formula that unlocks miracles. So after you recite Psalm 23 correctly, you take one step, make one phone call, send one email, learn one new skill, cut one unnecessary expense, apply for one opportunity, research one new income stream. The step doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to solve everything. It just has to be movement. God moves when you move. Let me take you back to Michael's story. I taught him this exact method. I sat with him in my office for over an hour and made him practice until he got it right. At first, he resisted hard. He thought it seemed too simple, too easy. He thought it felt wrong, almost arrogant, to declare, "I shall not want," when he was $73,000 in debt. "Rabbi," he said, "how can I say I don't want when I desperately want to pay my bills? How can I declare abundance when I'm drowning? Isn't that lying? Isn't that being fake?" I looked at him carefully and said, "Michael, you're not lying. You're aligning with a higher truth. In the infinite consciousness of the Creator, lack doesn't exist. Money is infinite. Opportunities are infinite. Abundance is infinite. You're not denying your current circumstances. You're tuning your frequency to a reality where those circumstances can change. You're stepping into the consciousness where solutions exist, where doors can open, where transformation is possible." He didn't fully believe me. I could see the doubt in his eyes, but he was desperate enough to try. He committed to 30 days of the practice exactly as I taught him. Every morning before he looked at his phone, before he checked his bank account, before the panic could set in and take over his mind, Michael did this practice. First, he found one thing to be grateful for. Some days it was his daughter's laugh. Some days it was his wife's patience. Some days it was just coffee. Then he recited Psalm 23 as a declaration. Firm voice, present reality, no begging, no pleading. He visualized himself as a vessel under the waterfall of infinite abundance. And then he took one action step toward improving his business or his finances. Week 1. Nothing external changed. His debt was still there. His mortgage was still overdue. But Michael noticed something shifting internally. The constant panic in his chest started to ease just slightly. His mind felt clearer. He could think about his business without immediately spiraling into fear and paralysis. Month 1, something unexpected happened. A former client he'd completely written off, someone who hadn't paid an old invoice from over a year ago, contacted him out of nowhere. The old invoice Michael had forgotten about, $3,200, suddenly got paid. Michael called me shocked. "Rabbi, I didn't even remember that invoice existed. I'd written it off as a loss." I told him, "That's how it starts. When your consciousness shifts, you start seeing opportunities and resources that were invisible to you before. They were always there. You just couldn't see them from lack consciousness. Your frequency was wrong." Month 2. David got invited to a networking event by an old friend. The old Michael would have stayed home, too scared, too ashamed of his financial situation, too convinced he had nothing to offer. But the new Michael, operating from abundance consciousness, decided to go. He didn't go to beg for business. He went as someone valuable with something to offer. He met someone at that event who needed exactly what Michael's landscaping business provided. New contract, $12,000 for a 6-month project. This wasn't magic. This wasn't God rewarding him for saying the right prayer. This was Michael showing up differently because his consciousness had shifted. He carried himself with confidence instead of desperation. He spoke from abundance instead of lack. People could feel it. Energy is contagious. Month 3, Michael sat down and did something he'd been too scared to do before. He faced his debt head-on with a clear mind instead of a panicked mind. He called credit card companies and negotiated. He got interest rates reduced. He consolidated at lower rates. He created a payment plan that actually worked. And for the first time in 2 years, he opened a separate savings account and put in $50. Just $50. But it was a declaration. I am someone who saves. I am someone who has extra. I am building wealth. 6 months into the practice, Michael had paid off $29,000 in debt. He had $7,000 saved. His business revenue had increased by 38%. His marriage was healing because the financial pressure had decreased, and his energy had changed. 1 year later, debt was down to $31,000. Savings at $19,000. Business thriving. New clients coming through referrals. When Michael came back to see me after a year, he looked like a completely different person, not just financially. His whole energy had changed. His posture, his voice, his eyes. He told me something I'll never forget. Rabbi, the psalm didn't magically make money appear in my bank account, but it shifted how I saw myself. I stopped being a beggar waiting for a handout and became someone accessing infinite abundance. Same person, different consciousness, completely different results, different decisions, different energy, different life. That's the power of using Psalm 23 correctly. That's the power of consciousness shift combined with action. Let me explain the spiritual technology behind why this practice actually works. This isn't magic. This isn't wishful thinking. This is based on principles that Jewish mystics have understood for 3,000 years and that modern science is only now beginning to confirm. In Kabbalah, we teach that consciousness creates reality. The Zohar, one of our most sacred mystical texts, explains that the physical world we see is a reflection of spiritual frequencies we can't see. What you see in your bank account, what you experience in your financial life, is a direct reflection of the consciousness you're operating from. When you operate in scarcity consciousness, begging, fear, desperation, anxiety, you're vibrating at a frequency that attracts more scarcity. Like attracts like. This isn't just spiritual philosophy. This is observable reality that you can test in your own life. When you're desperate, you make decisions from panic. You miss opportunities because you can't see clearly through the fog of fear. You repel people because desperation is palpable and uncomfortable. People can feel it. When you shift to abundance consciousness through declaration and gratitude, you're literally changing your frequency. You're aligning with the infinite nature of God, Ein Sof, without end. In that frequency, everything changes. You see opportunities you couldn't see before because your awareness expands. You make decisions from wisdom instead of panic. You attract different circumstances because you're emitting a different energy. The Torah teaches this principle in Proverbs. As a man thinks in his heart, so is he. Your consciousness doesn't just affect how you feel. It affects what manifests in your physical reality. Your thoughts create your beliefs. Your beliefs create your actions. Your actions create your results. But here's what's deeper. In quantum physics, scientists are now discovering what Jewish mystics have known forever. The observer affects the observed. Your consciousness literally influences physical reality at a fundamental level. When you declare, "I shall not want," from true alignment, you're not just changing your mindset. You're influencing the field of possibilities around you. Now, I know some of you are thinking, "Rabbi, are you saying that poor people are poor because of their consciousness?" That sounds like you're blaming victims. Let me address this directly because it's important and I don't want to be misunderstood. Systemic barriers exist. Injustice exists. Discrimination exists. Economic oppression is real. I'm not denying any of that. My own family fled pogroms in Russia. I understand oppression. But here's what I'm saying. Consciousness is the one factor that anyone can control, regardless of their external circumstances. Jewish people have survived slavery in Egypt, exile in Babylon, persecution in Europe, the Holocaust, some of the worst oppression in human history. Yet we've built generational wealth in every country where we've settled. How? Because consciousness became our portable asset. They could take our homes. They could take our businesses. They could take our possessions. They could drive us from country to country. They couldn't take our understanding of abundance principles. They couldn't take what we carried in our minds and hearts. This isn't about blaming anyone for their circumstances. This is about empowering anyone, starting from anywhere, to shift their internal reality first. Because when your internal reality shifts, your external reality eventually follows. It's spiritual law. Your current consciousness is creating your current results. If you want different results, you need different consciousness. It's that simple. Not easy, but simple. Now let me reveal something that makes Psalm 23 work exponentially better. There's a companion practice that amplifies the consciousness shift by a factor of 10. This is the practice that took Michael from good results to extraordinary results. The companion practice is daily righteous giving, what we call tzedakah in Hebrew. Here's the principle. You cannot authentically say, "I shall not want," while gripping every penny in fear. You cannot operate in abundance consciousness while your actions scream scarcity. There has to be alignment between your declaration and your behavior. In Kabbalah, we teach that giving creates the vessel for receiving. Let me explain this because it seems completely counterintuitive to most people. Most people think, how can I give when I barely have enough? I need to receive first, then I'll give. When I have extra, then I'll be generous. That's backward. That's scarcity thinking. That's poverty consciousness. Here's how it actually works. When you give, even when it feels like you can't afford to, you're making a declaration to the universe. You're saying, I have enough to give. I am not in lack. I am connected to infinite abundance, and therefore, I can afford to share. This breaks scarcity consciousness at the deepest level. Scarcity says, hold tight, grip everything. There's not enough. Abundance says, give freely, share openly. There's always more flowing. The river never stops. So here's the practice I gave Michael, and I'm giving it to you right now. Every single day before you recite Psalm 23, give something. In the beginning, the amount doesn't matter at all. Give $1. Give 50 cents. Give whatever feels like a stretch but not impossible. The amount is not the point. The consciousness is the point. You're training yourself to operate as someone who has abundance to share, not as someone hoarding crumbs. This creates the vessel. In Jewish mysticism, we understand that a vessel must have space to receive. If you're gripping everything tightly with a closed fist, there's no room for more to enter. When you give, you create space. You open your hand. When you declare abundance through Psalm 23, you fill that space. Let me tell you about Sarah, a single mother who came to see me 18 months ago. She was making $34,000 a year, raising 2 kids alone, drowning in bills and exhaustion. When I told her about the giving practice, she looked at me like I'd completely lost my mind. Rabbi, I can't afford to give anything. I'm already 3 months behind on rent. I'm using credit cards to buy groceries. You want me to give money away? I challenged her calmly. Can you give $5 a week? Just $5 to any charity you believe in while practicing Psalm 23 daily? She thought I was crazy. She was terrified. But something in her, maybe desperation, maybe hope, trusted the process enough to try. She committed to trying for 30 days. Sarah gave $5 every week to a local food bank. She practiced Psalm 23 as a declaration every morning with gratitude first. She took one action step daily toward improving her situation, updating her resume, applying for better positions, learning new skills online for free. 2 months into the practice, Sarah received a job offer. $46,000 a year. Not magic, not a lottery win. A better job that she applied for from a consciousness of abundance instead of desperation. She showed up to the interview differently. She negotiated differently. She carried herself differently. 6 months later, she got promoted to $58,000. She now gives 10% of her income automatically every month. And she told me something powerful that I want you to hear. Rabbi, that practice of giving $5 a week when I was broke, that shifted my entire relationship with money. I went from, there's never enough, to, there's always more flowing. That consciousness change opened doors I didn't even know existed. I started seeing opportunities everywhere. This is not magic. This is spiritual technology. Giving breaks scarcity consciousness. Declaration aligns you with abundance. Action demonstrates faith. And this combination creates transformation that people call miracles. Let me recap what we've covered today, because this is absolutely critical for your financial breakthrough. Psalm 23, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want," is not a begging prayer. It's not a magic spell. It's a consciousness-shifting declaration that aligns you with infinite abundance. The correct method is completely different from what most people do. You shift to gratitude first. You declare the psalm as present reality with a firm voice. You visualize yourself as a vessel connected to infinite source. And you take action. This is how you clear financial blockages. This is how you access abundance. This is how Jewish families have built wealth for thousands of years across every continent, through every persecution, in every economic system. Now, here's what I want you to do right now. Not tomorrow, not next week. Right now while this teaching is fresh. First action, starting tomorrow morning, Before you check your phone, before you look at social media, before you do anything else, practice the 4-step method I just taught you. Find one thing to be grateful for. Recite Psalm 23 as a declaration of present reality. No begging, firm voice, total conviction. Visualize yourself as a vessel under the waterfall of infinite abundance. Then take one action step toward your financial goal. Just one. Second action. Commit to the companion practice right now. Decide what amount you will give daily or weekly, even if it's just $1, even if it feels impossible. This breaks scarcity consciousness and creates the vessel for receiving. Give before you recite the psalm. Watch what happens over 30 days. Third action. Track your consciousness shifts. Don't just wait for money to magically appear in your account. Pay attention to the internal changes first. Notice when the panic decreases. Notice when you see opportunities you couldn't see before. Notice when you make decisions from clarity instead of fear. Notice when people respond to you differently because you're carrying yourself differently. These are the signs that the practice is working. I want you to do something for me right now. Go down to the comments and answer this question. What financial blockage do you need to clear right now? What's the one action step you're going to take after you practice this prayer tomorrow morning? Write it down. Make it public. Make it real. And here's my challenge to you. Commit publicly in the comments that you will practice this method daily for 30 days, not 29 days, not I'll try. 30 days of committed practice. I want to hear your transformation stories. I want to see what happens when you shift from begging consciousness to abundance consciousness. If this teaching opened your eyes to a completely new understanding of prayer and prosperity, make sure you subscribe to this channel and turn on notifications, because next week I'm going to teach you something that will transform your relationship with time and productivity. I'm revealing the ancient Jewish practice of Shabbat, how observing one complete day of rest every week actually multiplies your productivity and income the other 6 days. This is a principle that built empires. This is a principle that the most successful Jewish business people have used for thousands of years. It seems completely backward to modern thinking, but it works. You don't want to miss it. Remember this truth. You are not begging for abundance. You are aligning with the infinite source that created the entire universe. You are a child of that source. Abundance is not something you have to earn or deserve through suffering. Abundance is your birthright. You just forgot. Psalm 23 is helping you remember. The blockages in your financial life are not external. They're internal. They're consciousness blockages. And the moment you shift your consciousness, the external world begins to shift with you. It's spiritual law. It's been proven for 3,000 years in Jewish communities around the world. Now it's your turn to prove it in your own life. May you experience overflow in every area of your life. May your vessel be continually filled from the infinite source. May you go from strength to strength, from abundance to greater abundance. Baruch Atah Adonai. Blessed are you, Lord. Shalom.